All right. Welcome everyone. I don't know how good the audio is right now. I'm still figuring this stuff out, if I'm being honest. Let's see. I can see the little thing for audio. I hope it's loud enough. I'll talk kind of loud. I couldn't figure out how to get my microphone to hook up. We're going to actually have more discussions about microphones in this video. But first, let's start off with automotive news. So there's two pieces of news I want to talk about. The first one is, and unless you live under a rock and you're in the automotive community, you've definitely heard about it. The Chevy engine recalls, the 6.2 liter V8 that Chevy's now had seemingly forever, since 2014, has been recalled. And technically, it's a little bit of a different engine than what they had since 2014, but the architecture is essentially the same. The L87 is the one that's been recalled. The L87 has the what are they calling them nowadays? The displacement on demand as opposed to active fuel management. I don't know. Anyway, it can go down to, I think, as much as or as little as one cylinder, whereas the original ones were 4 cylinders or 8. So this has even more kind of complexity with the hydraulic lifters and stuff. But anyway, that's actually not the problem that's causing the recall, which has historically plagued Chevy engines. What is causing the recall is the surface finish on the crankshaft. They claim that a supplier issue caused crankshafts to not have a smooth enough surface. Therefore, over time you get crank bearing wear, right? So that metal between the crank bearing and the crankshaft itself, right? So I don't really even know what the crank bearings are made out of than those, but some like lead-based material or whatever. They used to be lead, right? Lead-based material bearing, and then you had your steel crankshaft, and the crankshaft starts to chew into the bearing. You lose oil pressure. You start to get some slop. You blow the motor. Not good. So what have they done to remedy that? Well, that's a bit controversial. So if your engine is running fine, they have you take it into the dealership. They give you 0W40 supercar oil, which is an interesting oil for a pickup truck, which is what these engines are in, right? Or SUVs. I'm assuming the supercar oil, I didn't look it up, has some type of additive package that should add extra lubricity and help under strenuous towing scenarios or high temperatures, stuff like that. And hopefully that does solve the problem for people who haven't already had an engine failure. If you had an engine failure, so they claim, they're going to take care of it, replace the motor, whatever. That being said, because so many engines have failed, I believe the failures are in the hundreds of thousands, there's 600,000 plus engines in question, and some of which have failed. And I don't know if the article that I read says how many failed so far. I actually don't see it in this article. So if somebody knows, throw it in the chat. But enough have failed that it's a recall, obviously. And the reason it's so controversial is because a couple things. Number one, the current oil spec is 020. And for many years, the mantra that people have had is that, these thin oils are like water and there's no way they can protect an engine. And so people either begrudgingly run the thin oil or they swap on their own accord to a thicker oil. Now, whether or not that's actually a good thing, there's a whole separate engineering discussion as to the pluses and minuses of the thinner oils. People claim it's only for fuel economy. Engineers would have designed engines to run it. So is it actually causing less longevity? Anyway, ton of different things with that. I'm not going to get into that. But what I am going to say is it is awfully gratifying to people who are of the thicker engine oil camp, right? To be, seeing this and they're saying, see, we should have been running thicker oils all along. I'm not going to get into that debate. I don't have the stats in front of me to prove or disprove it otherwise. But what I will say is the idea, the bigger question I would want to know if I owned one of these 6.2s, and to be honest, I'm glad I don't. As much as I am a Chevy V8 enthusiast, there's a Camaro with a 6.2 liter LS3, the previous generation motor, sitting right next to me out of frame, or you might be able to just see the back quarter. But it's not comforting if you've bought, potentially, only a few years ago, right, an $80,000-$90,000 Denali GMC or High Country Silverado, whatever, and you're now questioning whether or not this 040 is actually a fix for your vehicle. And what I would say to that is two things. Without being in the engineers, seeing the engineering documentation from GM, to give you a little bit of background, I'm actually an engineer, mechanical engineer by trade myself in a manufacturing industry, not related to automotive, but a different type of manufacturing. So I've been in the manufacturing environment for my whole career so far, so like 10 years or so. So I have a rough idea of how these things work, even though it's not my industry. And what I will say is, once a company has identified something as like a technical service bulletin, that kind of throws a flag up in all their systems and gets them nervous, right? But then when it becomes a recall, that's when companies really start to get, for lack of a better term, paranoid, right? And want to make sure that they do something that will properly fix the recall. But let's be honest, they want to do it as cheaply as possible. Because now once they've said to the world that, okay, this is a recallable thing, they now are on the hook, like liability wise, for those failures, and they're admitting fault and they have to take care of it. So if the 040 really wasn't going to solve the problem, I just don't think they would do it. As much more money as it would cost to like replace all the engines or replace all the crankshafts or just replace the bearings or whatever they would do, I still don't think they would do it. Like if they weren't pretty darn sure that 040 will do the job, I don't think they would. Now, I think this is a fair argument. Is the 040 just enough to get it out of warranty and or say past 100K, but not up to 200K? Well, that's a fair argument. And I would be afraid of that myself if I was in that camp. Will there be guys and girls out there trying to like romp on their engines and get them to blow so they can get a new motor? Maybe, probably. Is that the worst idea? I'm not going to say it's not. It is what it is. Is it moral? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's a real question there. And I think this is the difference. And I'm not trying to, I have two Chevrolets and I'm a big Chevy fan. I have an 05 Silverado and this 2013 Camaro I just referenced. So I'm no like Toyota fanboy, but I will say for any of the times Toyota's had issues, kind of like this bigger issues, the frame rod issues, stuff like that in the past, they generally do a pretty thorough job with the recall. And I just don't know that I feel like GM's doing the most thorough job. I think I'd like to see them just replace all the engines. And I know that that's no small feat, but I kind of inherently think that's the right way to do it. Right? You've identified a mechanical supplier caused issue with a part, right? This isn't a design issue. This isn't a fixable thing that you could just like change the actual properties of the engine by changing the oil, right? So you got to change hard parts. So change the hard parts and make them right. Now, not to divert too much, but with the 10-speed transmission issue, ironically enough, they're kind of doing the same thing where that's also recalled right now in those same trucks. And they're just doing a software update unless you've already had issues. And then they're replacing the valve body if you've had issues or something to that effect. And so it's kind of the same thing, right? They're going out of their way to kind of like do things cheaper and maybe not fix it as thoroughly as they could. So again, if you own that $80,000, $90,000 truck, you now very well could have a recalled engine and transmission, which I gotta say, as much as again, like my Chevys, that is a tough pill to swallow. I don't know, and I'm sure there's an example of it that I've heard of a company in remotely recent history, last 30, 40 years, that have had both major components, the two most expensive things in the vehicle, recalled at the same time, basically, right? So I think we'll find that this is going to kind of be like a low point for GM in history here. It is what it is, right? They're going to have to work through it, and they're going to have to really think about what they do next with their next engine, which kind of leads me to my next point, but we'll pause that for just a second because I want to mention this too. On top of these two recalls, GM has been known to have kind of a lot of rot issues recently. And you can go back to the GMT 800 platform and frame rot and rocker rot especially has been an issue, and on any truck really, right? Especially in the Northeast and stuff, in the northern Midwest, the salt just tears them up. And trucks have like always been worse than other cars, it seems like, on the average. But they've been especially bad kind of recently, like the 14 to 18 generation Silverados, whatever that K2 LMNOP, whatever that generation's called. Those have been, I mean, I'm seeing them very rusty for being like relatively newer trucks. Obviously the 14s and 15s are getting pretty old, but the 16, 17, 18, 19s, they're new enough. And and then I'll see 19 ups, the next generation, and they have pretty crusty frames already up here. And they just are using the wax coating they're using is not holding up. They got to go to a powder coated frame or something. And they really need to kind of reinvest in quality and give people a product that is worth the money they're charging. I think right now GM is I hate to say, but they're kind of the like worst quality vehicle right now in the truck market from a lot of perspectives, right? We're talking both drivetrain items, major drivetrain items, and frames and body rot. And it's just like, man, it's just too much. That leads me to my next thing, right? So the new engine platform. So they also just announced they're investing in a next generation small block V8, which I'm kind of shocked that they're doing that. And I say that because they have carried the 5th gen LT motor. Yeah, the LT is a 5th gen. They've carried the 5th gen small blocks for over 10 years and essentially unchanged. Again, a couple little things with displacement on demand and stuff, but more or less the same motors. And I'm just shocked that they wouldn't have started this process sooner, I guess, if they were going to continue with V8. I assumed in the background they were developing a twin turbo 6 of some sort or something similar to that, which every other brand has gone to, which really makes me wonder, two things, right? Number one, is it too little too late for another V8? Did they miss the window of, say, 3 or 4 years ago coming out with that new V8, getting the power numbers up? Because right now, the EcoBoost, the Toyota hybrid setup that they have with their Turbo 6, the new Hurricane, all their high output versions blow the 6.2 Chevy motor out of the water. I mean, the 6.2 Chevy motor was a beast when it came out at 460 foot-pounds. That was like incredible, right? Now everything's got 40, 50, 60 more foot-pounds of torque and the same or more horsepower. And so it's kind of like it's the least powerful premium engine in the segment. So I don't know if they're going to be able to pull the power numbers out of a V8 and keep the economy and keep reliability or regain reliability, I guess I could say. I don't know if that's going to happen. I guess we'll see, right? But the other thing that's always hard to do with a V8, and this is kind of counterintuitive because everybody says, oh, I want a V8 for the low-end torque. Well, in the modern era, a turbo 6-cylinder just objectively has a lot better torque curve. The way a turbo engine works, right? You just get a peak of torque, it holds to the RPM band, and you're there. And they tow well, they perform well, empty. They're snappy, they're good power, they're fast, whatever. And not that the V8s can't be and aren't fun and don't tow decent, but they do need more gear. They need more RPM to achieve a given, moving a given load or doing a given thing. So I really wonder if I wonder if it's the right decision. I know there's a subset of people that really love V8s and wouldn't want to see them go away. I mean, I literally have 3 V8s in my life: my car, the Silverado, and my F-250. So I am a V8 enthusiast through and through, and V-twin. I just like the V platform in general of whatever. But I cannot deny the functional reasons why you would go with a Turbo 6, whether it's a V configuration or a straight 6 or whatever. So I'm just curious. I mean, I hope it works out. I genuinely do, because I would love to have V8s around as long as possible. I'm a big fan, like I said. So we will see. I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, so I've covered all that. Another piece of news I want to talk about real quick is the new Ram Cummins with the 8-speed. So they just came out pretty recently. I've never driven one. I'd like to at some point. I'd obviously really love to tow with one. I don't have a big enough channel, I feel like, to go to dealerships and ask to do loaners or do like test drives and stuff. Maybe I just should, but anyway, maybe I will do that. But from the videos I've watched and the people I've watch that I trust. They seem to be getting pretty positive reviews. I think the Cummins was due for an 8-speed at least, or a 10-speed. Obviously, GM and Ford have had 10 speeds now since 2020 in the diesels for both, and then in the gassers, Ford's had it since 2020. Chevy's had it since 2024, I think. Yeah, so more recent, but still, they're 10 speeds now. I also always thought it was weird that Rams, the 6.4 Hemi had the 10 or the 8-speed, and then the Cummins didn't get it for many years later, right? So that was kind of a strange combo, in my opinion. So I'm glad to see that they did that. I'm pretty sure as long as that transmission's good, which it kind of has to be because it's not made by an American company who are, famous for not making the best transmissions a lot of the times. It should be a good transmission and it should hold up, and it seems to shift well and do the things that a truck needs to do well. So keep my fingers crossed for that one. Now, if only Ram could increase their cab size to what the half tons have and make their short bed, 6'10" or so to compete with Chevy and Ford, then we'd be on to something. So Ram's getting there. They're usually a little behind the ball with that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the news. Keeping it kind of brief here, although we are 16 whole minutes in. But I want to give you guys a lot of channel updates. So channel updates are kind of hard for me to justify like making a separate video for. So I think this live stream format might be a good way to do it. And I kind of want to first start off by telling you what my process is right now. So as you can tell, I post a video, basically three videos a week. I post a video every 3 days. So actually it's 2 or 3 a week, I should say, whatever that works out to, 2 point something per week. But that's just how I've been doing it, right or wrong. And I've been doing that on purpose because then it purposefully scatters the days of the week. And I've been trying to see if there's any correlation between, increased viewership of when a video releases. I haven't found any data on that yet. It just seems like videos do well based on what the content is, which is probably mostly true anyway. So that's kind of the first thing. But with that, what I kind of do is I have videos that aren't time sensitive, like they're not about an event or they're not about, a news topic like this. And then I just put them in a queue of when they can release because they're just informative and are timeless in a sense. And then I have videos that are, that do get bumped ahead of those because I feel like they need to release at a given time for whatever the reason is, right? So with that, we have Laconia Motorcycle Rally coming up, which I go to every year or have been going to every year. And I really want to get back into Moto Vlogging. So that's a big kind of change for the channel. Way back in the day, if you look at my old videos, I did only Moto Vlogging. So if you don't know what Moto Vlogging is, it's basically you mount a camera to your helmet, your motorcycle helmet, which is hanging up there in my case, and you have a microphone in your helmet and you can just kind of talk and ride, show the scenery, talk about, whatever it is you want to talk about. And I really enjoyed doing that. And I did it so much, I kind of fell out of favor with it and I was just done with it. I wanted to do different stuff. I expanded the channel to car stuff, to truck stuff, all that kind of thing. I actually been trying to bring the bike back into it because I miss doing the bike stuff. And so I want to do moto vlogging again. And I really want to make a good moto vlogging setup because I was using my ancient action camera that I had mounted on the side of the helmet and it did okay, but the angle was a little bit weird. The audio quality was kind of meh. And so I want to retool that. So what I'm doing is actually I spent a lot of time today playing around with my action camera, which I'm filming on right now, so I can't show you. And then I played around with these wireless microphones that I bought a while back. These are the Hollyland Mark Ones or something like that. They're supposed to be pretty good. They got great reviews. Everybody talked really highly of them online. And I'm not saying they're not good microphones. They seem to have good audio quality, but I cannot get these dang things to work correctly. So for whatever reason, every time I try to use these, it's pretty simple. You take them, you pull the receiver out of the case and the transmitter, and you put this on your shirt, you put the transmitter, you hook it up to your camera, and it should just work. And sometimes it does, but then sometimes it doesn't. And I found that it'll just drop connection in the middle of a video, or you'll start a video and it will have been working before you start the video because I can see the sound meter, and then it'll just drop off. And that's super annoying. So I don't really know what's going on with these things. I don't know if they're defective or if I'm using them wrong. I just read the instructions today. I played around with them for a long time. I don't know, but I am trying to get you guys better audio quality, especially for like the repair videos and stuff. If you're running air tools, having a microphone, this close to your face would be a lot better than using the camera's microphone. So I'm trying to improve audio. So what I'm doing for now, because of that, is I have a wired microphone. This seems to be reliably working with my camera right now. I'm not using it for this video because I couldn't figure out how to make it work with a live stream. So unfortunately, I wanted to use it for this video. Unfortunately, I'm not. But we're going to keep playing with this and figure this out. Simultaneously, I want to either buy new wireless or figure these out. I'm going to email the company. So I'm going to try to get you guys better audio. So that's a big update. If you've noticed, the last 2 weeks probably, I've been bringing shorts back. So YouTube, for those who don't know, it was at least whatever you want to call it, folklore, if you will, that if you made shorts and you wanted to push long form videos, it was one or the other, right? So you either had to be like a shorts channel or a long form video channel. And I stopped making shorts because before I was monetized, because I was afraid that I was going to screw up my channel. And it kind of seemed to help, maybe. I don't really know. But I eventually got monetized April 10th and only on long form. And then as of about 2 weeks ago, I started bringing the shorts back. And according to some stuff I read online, YouTube has changed the algorithm, so that's no longer true. So that shorts do actually help you. And I also lost train of thought here. What was I going to say? Oh, I also they have like in your analytics for YouTube, they have data now that shows you how many people have found a short and then watched a long form video because of your short, because they're trying to push shorts more and tell people, hey, it's okay to make shorts on your channel. So apparently 14% of my shorts viewers then went on to view a long form video. So that's actually pretty good. That might not sound good, but that's actually pretty good. Shorts viewers are typically a different, demographic than a long form video viewer. It definitely has helped subscribership, which is cool. Thank you, everyone. And it has definitely helped, it has helped income. So I've been growing, the monetization has been growing, right? So that's also good. Yeah. And then overall, just to kind of close this out, I'm just trying to grow the channel. I really want people to start commenting on, what you want to see. I've got, if you're watching my channel often, you'll know I've got the 2022 F250 Godzilla 7.3, my 6.0 swapped LQ9 Silverado half ton, the 2013 Camaro that I do track days with and stuff, this Harley that I put the Hammer 1275 kit on and done a bazillion things on. So I feel like I have kind of an interesting blend of vehicles to do cool videos on, and I enjoy making videos on all of them. And I just want you guys to, let me know. I've had some people talk about, things they want to see, and, obviously gotten good feedback on different videos I've done. I want to bring more car review videos in as I can, especially if I can get hooked up with a dealership. If you happen to work for a dealership local to the Albany, New York area, let me know. I'd love to, if you'd let me use your vehicles, and I'll shout you out in the videos. But also, I want to get some of that stuff going. And I really just want to work on, again, audio quality, video quality. I want to buy a second camera, get better time lapses and have different camera angles and all that kind of stuff. So just little by little growing the channel, growing the quality of the content, probably not growing the frequency. This whole video every 3 days thing is doable for me, but pushing it time-wise, I still have a full-time job. Obviously, I'm not making significant amount of money on this, whatsoever. So I'm going to do what I can do. I got to maintain the rest of my life, of course. I can't dedicate all of my spare time to this, but I'll do what I can. So with that being said, this was obviously my second real live stream, number 2. I think this is a lot better than the first one. The first one was just kind of haphazard. I did it on a whim. So even with these live streams, I'm going to try to make them more and more professional, figure out how to really make these things better and more interesting. So please give me your feedback, and we'll end it there. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.